Gosh, isn't this exciting? I'm so excited. It's like Christmas. I'm Stacey Wilson-Hunt. I work in Hollywood here for New York Magazine and Vulture, and I'm so excited to speak to Sean Hayes. So come on up, Sean. I told you.
That's about as exciting as it's going to get.
No, I did see one woman stand up, so you got one standing ovation over there.
By the way, still waking up. Actors, we sleep late, right? Look at my eyes. I'm like, hello.
I know, this is like the middle of the night for you guys,
I know,
isn't it?
Jesus.
So it's amazing to have you here.
Thank you for being here. It's actually a true honor to be here with all of you today. It's really, really cool. I've never done this before.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. So we have a ton of audience, very
I mean an
specific-
interview. This is my first interview.
First ever?
I've never
Oh my
done an
God.
interview.
Well, we'll hold your hand and make sure it goes well.
Promises,
So we have a
promises.
ton of audience questions that are very specific about the show and stuff. So I'll try to, have some variation. Isn't this great?
Yeah, it's so
exciting.
awesome.
And Megan, your friend Megan, was here last week. And
Yes.
it was, were you guys here for that too? Yeah.
Oh, good. So
They
you
cannot
sleep
get
here. Yeah, half of you live here, half of you.
It's kind of true, actually. So I'd love to talk about what your life was like growing up, what you were like as a young person.
Oh, that's so funny.
Irish Catholic in Chicago.
Yes. Alcoholics all around. It's true.
And I've talked to Jane Lynch about her life growing up in very similar
And
circumstances.
we both went to Illinois State University.
I know, you
yeah.
guys have a lot in common.
And Craig Robinson and like tons of people
so
went
many
to Illinois
Chicago
State
people.
University.
It's amazing. What kind of kid were you from the outset? Were you as theatrical as the person we know today?
Really quick, Craig Robinson, you know Craig Robinson? We were both piano majors in the same class together, learning piano. Crazy. Anyway, what was the question? Sorry.
What were you like as a kid?
What was I like as a kid? I mean, I think I was the youngest of 5 kids. My dad left when I was 5. My mom raised all of us by herself. He was an alcoholic and chose not to have the responsibility of raising us. And I think that impacted me, obviously, somehow being the youngest. Like, look at me, I guess, is the, if I was in a psychiatrist's office, which I have been.
Maybe you wanted to also wanted to bring
yes.
joy to your mom and joy to your family.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we all, it's the classic cliche. We covered everything up with comedy. We were sarcastic and we laughed through all the pain. And now none of us really talk. No, I talked to one of my brothers and my sister and there's one brother where nobody knows where he is, and another brother's an alcoholic, and I don't know, but it's, but there's still love there. Your family is your family, i.e. the episode you just saw, you kind of create your own family wherever you go, but at the core, there's still my family. But the question is, what was I like? I think I studied piano, started at 5 or 6 years old, and I was around music and theater and all of that at a very, very young age. So I think it's so important. I think music too is so important to an actor's life, whether it's comedy or drama, whatever your forte is. I think rhythm and beats and all that in comedy, in music, are the same in comedy and drama. And I think when I was younger, I learned that on such an early age, that music is also a language, just like acting is.
And it serves your dance moves too, I'm sure.
Well,
we'll get to that in a little bit.
we'll cut a rug later.
And did you have any idols growing up in show business or even in your community, people who inspired you to be creative?
Yeah, on one level, Steve Martin and Marty Short, I think, are my 2 idols, and they just happen to be best friends, which is weird. But I'm really close with Marty now, and it's so weird to be friends with the person who inspired you to enter show business. But and Tom Hanks too, and I'm friendly with Tom, and was also a huge.
A lot of name dropping, Sean.
Yes, and
a lot of name dropping.
And I don't see you picking them up. Yes. Tom Hanks told me to never drop a name. But anyway, look, this is my life. This is all I know. Are celebrities. So no, but you asked, It's weird, like having these people inspire you, and then meeting them and having them in your life all of a sudden. It's weird and awesome and all those things. But I think we've all been a fan of Tom Hanks too. Tom, when I was growing up in the '80s, wanted to be an actor. He was in every movie you wanted to be. Wanted to act in. He was all those roles. It was like, oh, I want to be in Big. I want to be in all those other movies, Splash, and all those comedies that were so great. But but basically on Saturday night, I locked myself in my room. I was one of those people who had a lot of in-school friends. Like, people thought I was funny in high school, but nobody called me outside of high school. They must have thought, oh, well, maybe somebody will call me. Nobody called me. And so I would stay in Saturday nights and watch Saturday Night Live constantly. And so pretty much anybody on SNL was an inspiration to me, but Marty the most. And Marty was only on one season. Yeah.
His Ed Grimley seems imprinted.
Yeah, right.
Forever and ever.
Billy Crystal, all those guys.
That was a very good era for SNL too.
Yeah.
So I read that you were an extra in the movie Lucas.
Yes, it was shot at my high school.
That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That's such a great movie.
Yeah, Winona Ryder's first movie.
Yeah.
She stole every scene. Right, thanks. It's a creeper. You have to remember TMZ years ago.
2002. It was
yeah.
a good year.
But I was 14 years old, and there was a movie coming to town, and it was at my high school in Glen Ellen, Illinois. It's so bizarre. And
John Hughes had really made suburban Chicago very the hot spot for
shooting. Huge. And it doesn't hurt that the high school I went to looks like a college campus. It used to be a hotel in the 1800s. Oh, wow. So it looks like a castle, and there's a lake behind it. And, of course, I grew up on the poor side of the track.
And did seeing like a production live and sort of being part of that. I mean, I've been an extra. It could not be like more boring. You're just sitting in like bleachers for 10 hours. And,
well, yeah, that's why you do it when you're young.
Right.
When you're like 8, 17, 14, right. 14 years old. Like, this is awesome. Cut to 14 hours later. This is awesome.
You didn't get your free lunch yet.
It's like Swingers. Vegas.
Did you have at that point dreams of Hollywood, and you thought like, "Ooh, this is so starry and exciting"? And
yeah, I did. I think that had a huge deal in my mind to want to be around it. A huge impact on me. It just added to all of it, though. I think it was weird. I remember now that you're. This is like, I love these kind of therapy sessions. when you're thinking about it, you ask what was I like as a child. I just now remembering my parents had a talent agent come to our house when I was like 4 or 5, 6 years old, and we all met one-on-one in the living room. And then I started going on commercial auditions at like 5 or 6 years old on a train to Chicago by myself. My parents were like, good luck. And I was like, what? And I got off the train. There was somebody waiting for me, but still, my God, a different era. And but yeah, so I think being like I started in at such a young age. I think that and Lucas was such a big deal.
Did you meet Charlie Sheen or Cary Green? Or
I didn't, or Corey Haim, no.
Okay.
But I was isn't it bizarre? Winona Ryder, that was her first thing.
And actually, and what you talked about, and I was one of those kids home on Saturday night too. It was the nerd fun friend, and then I know, God, where were you? But that movie was so, actually, I mean, it's very much like Rudy and a lot of movies that followed. But I mean, talk about like who didn't empathize with Luca Plakia, as they call him.
How do you know that? That's so crazy.
I know everything. It's disturbing.
Yes.
But that was a very sweet. We all rooted for him, and I think those movies. I can't recall a lot of movies since then that really kind of.
Now those are episodes of television.
Correct.
They're not movies anymore.
Exactly.
Isn't that wild?
It is very wild. And when did you decide to devote yourself to performing full time? Was it in college? Because I know you were still studying piano, and you were in concert piano playing.
Yeah. I thought I was gonna be a concert pianist and conductor, and then
way too fun for that.
What are you saying? Asapeka, whatever isn't fun. But no, I thought I was going to write movie music and compose all that, and I studied for about 20 years piano, and then I can't really play it nearly as well anymore. But I guess I devoted myself probably in college, like we all find ourselves. I danced around with it because I had 3 jock brothers who were in football and all sports and girls and all that stuff, and I was like, I don't know if that's for me, all of those things. and so I remember being in Bye Bye Birdie in high school. I was Harvey Johnson, of course. Thanks, you were the one. I'll give you your money back. And I would come home, and I didn't tell my family because I was embarrassed to know what they thought about that. And I remember my oldest brother, saying, "I heard you were in a play at the high school." And I was like, "Oh," freaked out. "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, why didn't you tell anybody?" I go, "'Cause we have to wear makeup and stuff like that." And I was so nervous. And he goes, "Well, I'm in football. We put makeup on under our eyes, the black stuff." So I thought that was really sweet. Yeah, and we don't talk. No, I actually talk with him. His name is Dennis. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, "Thanks, bye." Yeah.
You bonded. That was your bonding moment.
Yeah.
So you moved to LA in the mid-90s, is that right?
I moved to LA May 24th, 1995.
Just roughly.
Yeah. And I was 24, yeah, and I'd never been here. I just got in the car and I went, it's a long story, but I had a friend who was in Chicago who said, "I'm actually moving out to LA." I'm like, "Me too, I need to find a roommate." He said, "I'm actually moving next month. I'll find a place for two bedrooms." And I was like, "Great." And it was Park La Brea. So I lived on Ogden, and I drove to, thanks Ogden, and I drove to, I don't know if any of you remember, there was a gas station on the corner of 6th and Fairfax. And I just pulled into there, and I was like, I called him on that huge cell phone, and I was like, "Where do I go?" He's like, "Right across the street." And so that's where I came.
And were you instantly auditioning? Did you have anybody helping you book jobs?
I had done several commercials in Chicago, and I always thought, well, everybody should have a plan B and C and D. So I was a music director at Pheasant Run Dinner Theater in St. Charles, Illinois, where I had my car. We were doing Fiddler on the Roof, and Anna Klumsky was in the show.
Oh my God.
And because she's from Chicago too. And I packed my car, drove out, and then I what were we talking about?
Auditions.
Yes. So I did a bunch of commercials, and then I took the garbage. I was at Park La Brea. I took the garbage out, and this guy was like, "Hey, are you an actor?" I was like, "Yeah, like everybody else." Oh, and I worked at Red. Do you know that restaurant Red? That was then BDL, breakfast, or BLD, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Now it's closed. But I worked there, and a waiter once, I was a waiter, and a guy once said, "So are you an actor?" I was like, rolled my eyes like, "Yeah, like everybody's an actor." And he goes, "That must be really hard." And my response was, "It's hard if you're bad." Right? It's really hard if you're bad. Think about it. It's like, I can't get a job. Maybe you're not that great. After 40 years, I don't know.
Well,
no, but we should always keep going if it's what you love to do, which is true. I was making $5 a show doing sketch comedy when I first moved here. And that's when you know you love what you do, because I was so poor and I was laughing my ass off. So you already won if you're not making money doing what you're doing.
Right. And maybe
because you love it.
Hopefully you have someone in your life who, if maybe it isn't for you, has pulled you aside at some point and thought, maybe we can explore other options.
Yeah, absolutely. God, I wish somebody would have done that to me.
No, we're glad that they didn't. So 1998 was a big year for you.
It was huge, yeah.
It was huge, and it started in January during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Doritos commercial. Do you remember the Doritos commercial in the laundromat? Where Ali Larder comes in and throws the bag in the dryer, and you're very bro-ish.
People don't remember me, but they remember Ali.
I remember you.
Yeah. She was very talented.
She's very, very, yes. She was hired for her acting skills, for sure.
She's actually super sweet, and she's actually really talented.
She is, actually. And you said the line, "I Chihuahua." That was like your big.
Right.
This is all on YouTube, you guys. So check this out. It's very entertaining. But did your life change after that? Because that is kind of an odd platform, it's sort of oddly powerful platform. If you're in a Super Bowl commercial, suddenly people are like, "Who are these people?"
was in 2 Super Bowl commercials, the same Super Bowl.
What was the other one?
The other one was a Bud Light commercial where I'm shopping with my wife, and there's a clothes rounder, and people I go, "Psst, hey buddy," and I'm like, I look behind me, and I push back all the clothes, and inside the clothes rounder, they're like grilling and watching TV. I'm like, this is awesome, and I drink a beer, and so that one and that one, and then. 2 weeks later was Billy's Hollywood Screen Kiss at Sundance. So it's like boom, boom, boom. And it's always things always seem to happen either in big chunks or not at all.
Those commercials versus that movie, quite a disparate kind of.
I know, right? I'm the dude in one and a gay guy in the other.
But it showed your range,
sure.
Obviously.
Sure, yeah.
And at what point did you audition for Will and Grace?
So in that theater. It was the Egyptian Theater at Sundance in Park City.
Top of the hill, where all the big movies are rolled out.
That's right. And so I'm sitting there, and Jeff Meschel, who was a casting director at NBC at the time, I was sitting there waiting for the movie to start, and he taps me on the shoulder. I was like, yeah. And he goes, I'm from NBC. We're doing a show called Will and Grace. Would you audition? I was like, yeah, my God, I'd kill. And he goes, well, we're looking for our Will. And I'm like, okay, well, watch the movie. We'll watch it together. Maybe you found him. I don't know. And he goes, he said, great. And then they sent me the script, and I didn't have the money to change my ticket to go home. And I was starring in a movie at Sundance. I mean, that's insane. And then, so I didn't want to short side that experience just to go, listen to me now, just to go audition for a sitcom, which I would have killed for. So
it was for that pilot season for, like, they would shoot it in March.
Yeah, March 17th,
okay.
yeah.
So it was pretty accelerated timeline at that point.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not like, what's her name? From Taxi. What?
Mary Lou Henner?
Mary Lou Henner, where I know dates. I just know those 2 dates, March 17th,
those are
1998 and May 24th, 1995. Yeah, anyways, this story is so boring. I'm boring myself.
It's not boring. It's not boring.
So then I got back. They had found their Will, and then they said, would I read for the other guy? And I went in and read for Jack. It was between me and Alexis Arquette, rest in peace. Yeah, he was such a nice fella, and then a nice lady. Wow. And but that was wild. And I walked into the audition, and I did the scene and for Max, Mutchnick and David Kohan, the creators of Will and Grace. And as I was walking out, I did this because I'm going to test you guys. When you stand up and walk out of a room, okay, I'm going to stand up and act like I'm walking out of the room. What's the first thing you look at? You look at my ass. Everybody looks at your ass when you turn around. So I walked out, I go, I know you're looking at my ass. And they said, that's the guy.
So you really didn't even have to talk. You just had to turn around and walk out of the room, and then you had the part. Now, was everyone else cast at this point, Debra and Megan, too?
I wasn't privy to anything else, so I don't know. I know they had cast Eric for sure. Okay. And yes, I do. They cast Eric, and then I know Debra was last, and they had to get her drunk at Jimmy Burrows' house in order for her. She'll tell you that whole story, but it's really funny.
And what do you remember about the first time the four of you were together, either for first rehearsal, or did you meet first and get to know each other first at all?
That was that we met at a pre-table read at Max Mutchnick's house, and Jimmy Burrows was there. I don't know if you've ever met him or know him, but he's like, hard to poker face all the time. Oh, Sonny, come on in, nice to meet you. Hello, Eric. Hello, Debra. Hello. Nothing really moves over, until he laughs. Then it's and then it's back to that. But he's also basically our father. He's like
amazing,
awesome. Yeah. Obviously, I call him the Steven Spielberg of sitcoms. He just has put his hand in so many hits. It's unbelievable. And but that's where we all met. And Megan had black boots on, and she was black and goth. And I was like, I'd probably be best friends with her in a second, because that's who my friends were in college. And then Eric and Deb were there. And then it was really scary. You think you're gonna get fired every hour.
I hear that a lot from people on the stage. Yeah. And so you filmed the pilot, and when you watched the pilot, did you know that you had created something pretty indelible and kind of groundbreaking at the time? I
mean, I had nothing to compare to. I'd never done a TV show. I did like an episode of Missing Persons where you reenact the crime in Chicago. I'd give anything to get that tape.
We have it, actually.
Oh my God, I would kill. That'd be so awesome. It's probably horrible. But I
definitely looking for that later.
I did one episode of that, and 40, 50 commercials, and then Will and Grace. Well, Billy's Hollywood Screen Kiss, and then Will and Grace.
And you hadn't, I think, like Megan and maybe Eric, I don't know what he had done before Will and Grace, but you hadn't slogged it out in pilot season over and over again like a lot of actors.
I mean, I read 4 other like guest star spots at auditions and stuff, but never booked anything. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And what do you remember about the night it premiered, which I assume was the following fall? It was the fall release, right?
Yeah, that's all kind of a blur because I was in neurotic panic mode. Right. I'm like, it aired? Oh, I have to memorize my lines for next week. You just focus on the job at hand, I think. So I don't really remember too much about the premiere. I remember that it tested really well. And I remember Warren Littlefield, who basically greenlit the show and came up with the concept. I don't know if you all know that from My Best Friend's Wedding with Rupert Everett and Julie Roberts. My mom's favorite actress is Julie Robertson. I'm like, you mean Julia Roberts? Yeah, that one. And so that movie had just come out, and the Warren had said, because Max and David created a show where it's a bunch of couples, but Warren said, that's the most interesting couple. Why don't you just do a show about, about those
There'd
two
been
characters?
like Object of My Affection. There'd been a lot of movies centered on a straight woman and a gay friend.
Gay had just started to become hip.
Right.
So he's like, I went on.
Well, this is a year after Ellen.
Yeah.
Obviously a very different show, but equally meaningful.
Yes. Yeah. We always say she opened the door and we knocked it down.
Right. That's very, very true. So I was reading, when Jack started to become part of the ether and everyone was quickly obsessed with you. Like, who is this guy? Yeah. Who is the man behind the madman? People were very interested in you and your personal life at that point.
Yeah.
And I like, my friend Ari Carpel wrote a really nice piece about you a few years ago, and I like what you told him. You said, at the time, quote, the press wrote, the flamboyantly feminine, over-the-top gay guy, Jack, but if you didn't apply the word gay to Jack, he would just be the crazy next-door neighbor who had girls in the revolving door.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and it's sort of, he is the Kramer. He is that, the goofball. And it's funny that I didn't give a shit about any of your personal lives watching the show. I think back on it, I really...
It's nice to meet you, too.
I care now, though.
Such a warm and fuzzy gal. I'm kidding.
It's just
I get it.
It's just a testament to how amazing each of you was. And it's so strange that people were fixating on that, because now you see people like Jonathan Groff and Neil Patrick Harris and these people who I don't care. They're just great at what they do.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yes, I agree. Those people
you bristled at that attention.
Yeah, I think, by the way, this is like a 9-hour conversation. I think, it's like, do you remember Too Close for Comfort and J.J. Bullock? Jim J. Bullock. Mm-hmm. Yeah, James. Yeah. And there were those characters in every show. And obviously, we look back now and we're like, well, of course Paul Lynde was gay. Of course Jim J. Bullock was gay. All these guys were gay.
That's why they were on Hollywood Squares. Both
that's
of them.
Right. But back then, they were the crazy next door neighbor. I think that's what I meant, is like... and also, it's so layered that when the press would say the stereotypical flamboyant gay guy, first of all, I'm gay, and that is how I act when I'm being silly. But if I'm a stereotype, fine, but I don't, I know so many guys like that, and I know so many guys that are all spectrums of gay, like there's all spectrums of white people and black people and Asian people and everybody. And so to say a gay guy is only this type of guy, it can only be that type of guy, well, there's a million, variations in between. So that's what upset me about the press saying that, because it's just an uneducated statement.
Of course, and actually totally antithetical to the show.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So you had an incredible run the first go-round. How did it feel when you knew the show was ending? Megan talked last week about how scared she was about moving on from this iconic character, which, as we know, is very difficult.
Yeah.
Did you know that you wanted to pursue film? Did you want to take a break? And obviously you became a very prolific producer afterwards. Did you have a sense of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, no, it's so funny. I always say I wanted to be an actor to act. Fame wasn't on my mind or anything, Sure, you're in LA, so it must be a little part in your mind instead of doing theater in Chicago for the rest of your life or New York or whatever. So, but about that, I think every actor, whether they admit it or not, probably wants a little bit of that. And so I got a little bit of that, and I was like, I want to be an actor more than anything. So that was always secondary or fourth or eighth or 10th. But I don't know. I think it's different for everybody. I think the older you get, you become, or you're supposed to become, more self-aware. And with self-awareness, you realize your place in this business, in your own life, in society, what you can contribute on a million different levels to the human race. And so that all of a sudden now at this age becomes more prevalent than anything that has to do with an acting career. So when the show ended, I think I was more self-involved and narcissistic and too stupid I was like, I'm going to play thousands of different roles. And I was like staring at the phone for 15 years. And I was like, guess what? I'm not playing thousands of different roles. So I create anyway, that's the long answer to, I didn't really expect for the show to come back. But as far as laying out a plan, you can't. Movie career today is almost an oxymoron. Like, I don't know who has a career in movies other than maybe a franchise or, as far as things on a grand scale that people see.
It's mostly a lot of the actors who came of age in the 70s who are still working.
Right,
but there is no younger set of those people who is consistently working and also not doing TV.
Yeah,
TV
that I would
so
love
great.
to talk to everybody openly about. Like, I love having conversations with other actors about what do you think is happening and what happened and where are we going. I love to dissect that. I could talk about it for hours. It's my sports statistics.
Well, it's very relevant, and the business is changing by the minute.
Yeah.
But and I read another interview, you said it's kind of heartbreaking when you realize, the minute a show like that ends, you think you have this team of people supporting you saying, okay, we're gonna get you your next thing. We really care about your well-being.
Right.
We're gonna be there for you. And you realize, oh, well, the minute the show's done, everyone's moved on.
That's right.
And
it's
that's
so funny.
scary.
And you think, and then you realize nobody knows anything. That's the secret.
Right.
That's the secret of show business, is there is no secret. Like, nobody knows anything. Nobody can guide you or make you something. You have to create it all yourself. I'm sure you all know that, but right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially now more than ever, you have to become a multi hyphenate if you want to make a great living in this business. You have to know how to write. I hate writing, but now I love it. I used to hate it, but I forced myself to learn and listen and do it, and now I love to write and direct and act and produce and all of those things in between. You have to really love the business and the industry to stay in it for a long time.
Right. And you can't just be one thing.
That's right.
Right.
Not anymore.
You top-lined your own sitcom a few years ago, Sean Saves the World.
Yes.
On NBC.
Nothing, exactly. I thought it wasn't great either. I did not think it was great. It was fine.
I remember watching it. I mean, there were Tom Lennon, and it was
he's great.
Great actors.
Amazing actors.
Megan Hilty.
Yeah, it just didn't come together. It just didn't have a tone or a feeling that connected with people, and I agreed with that.
And what did you learn coming out of that?
That you can't be reticent about anything. You can't. You have to be, and you can't be scared to make bold choices and stick by them if you know in your gut they're right. Because in my gut, I was like, I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm not running the show. I'm just acting in the show with my name on it, but it's not my.
But you were a producer too.
Yeah, I was a producer too, so some of it falls on me. But I didn't care enough like I should have. I should have cared deeper about it.
And what have you learned from all your producing work?
Although I did care a little bit. I cared a lot. But I guess now I'm thinking about.
Well, you were the star of the show.
I know. I guess I obviously cared. I worked my balls off on it. But I guess you can. I don't know. I take everything I just said back. I think you can care deeply enough about something, but it is what it is. It's out of your hands. There's no way you can control it. And maybe I thought in this moment right now with you, I thought maybe I could have controlled it more, but I don't think you could have.
Well, and also you had come from this network that had embraced you and really helped you, and then you realize, well, it's up to the fans, and if people aren't watching, they're not watching.
That's right. It's entirely up to the audience.
It is. And also those multicams are becoming very rare. It's hard to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why this new iteration of Will and Grace is so incredible, because not only is it a multicam, it's so funny. Consistently laugh out loud funny, which is.
So nice. Thank you.
Really, it's the only show where I will actually laugh, LOL, like the kids say. I will actually laugh at the TV, and I don't remember the last time a show's made me laugh.
That's
out
so
loud.
nice. So let me ask you, why do you think they don't work today? Or as much?
Well, I think a lot of the best talent, writing and acting wise, wants to do single camera work, and I think they're getting paid tons of money at Netflix and the streaming, and they have a lot more creative control. Also, I think the people like Chuck Lorre and Jim Burrows, those people who specialize in this type of comedy, the joke, positioned comedy.
Right.
I think people just aren't learning how to write like that anymore.
That's right.
That's just my own.
But
theory.
you said something about people want to write single camera. Why do you think they want to write single and not multi?
I think there's more prestige. I think the fact that The Big Bang Theory has been nominated numerous times, never won a single award outside from Jim's performance. I mean, that show's a hard show to write. It's very funny. Never won anything. And I think people get discouraged when they see, the critical acclaim isn't hand in hand with the viewership, because Big Bang is still a giant hit.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been embraced in the same way as other shows that people see as more like prestige programming.
I think a lot of it has to do with theater. I think multicam sitcoms is theater with cameras filming it. And so you have to hire theater actors. And people who understand that.
I Like Carol O'Connor.
Yeah.
That's why All in the Family worked, because the Norman Lear hired the perfect person.
And I think
for that
networks
part.
panic about we got to get eyeballs, and rightfully so. They have to get eyeballs to pay the rent, and so they panic and get people who maybe aren't as well versed sometimes in that genre.
And also just the physical presence piece of what you guys do on Will and Grace. I mean, your physical comedy alone is, I mean, there's no one else on TV doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's amazing.
Literally can't move my neck because of it.
You know, the price you pay. The price you pay.
If you only knew the rolfing and the massages.
So we have a ton of really great audience questions, so I want to make sure to get to these if we haven't already addressed them. Yes. So Tiffany would like to know, well, first she wants to say that she loves you. Thank you, Tiffany.
I love you, Tiffany. Should we
love you.
Raise your hand.
There she is.
Tiff. Hi, Tiff.
She's the one who stood up for you earlier.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany.
So we sort of lightly touched on this, but she would like to know, what was your actual audition for the show like initially? What do you remember from, what did you read? What scene did you perform?
I had khaki pants and a plaid shirt on, for real. I read the scene, I don't know if you remember the pilot, where I come in with Guapo the bird, and I say, I don't remember the line, but something about, what's that? Yeah, or maybe something like that. I don't know. That's a funny joke, though. But I remember in the audition, it just said I'm holding Guapo. But as I chose as an actor, as I was getting angry, I was shaking the bird absentmindedly while I was holding him in my hand, right? And they seemed to like that. And so, and then, of course, Jimmy Burrows said when we were shooting it, add feathers in there. So while I was shaking, the feathers were coming out. I thought that was hilarious.
I'm sure the PETA people would have loved that.
Yes,
Love that scene. Yeah.
It wasn't really a bird in there.
It was not. Next question's from Mark. And Mark would like to know, after the original run ended of Will and Grace, was there ever talk of a Jack or Karen spinoff? And second question is, why are you so funny?
Oh, gosh. God bless you. Please alert Hollywood. No, there's always like talk about a Jack and Karen spinoff, like not between me and sometimes between me and Meg, but mostly behind the scenes. And but you know, people quickly realize you can't. I mean, it's insanity to have just the two. Nobody would watch it. People would watch one episode and they'd be like, "Well, that's insane," because our characters are so much broader. You know, you need
the contrast.
Yeah, you need the contrast in order to make both of us funny, both groups funny, and any interaction funny. Me with Grace is funny because I get to be crazy and she gets to be a sane person, you know, and vice versa and all around.
Well, that's why Joni Loves Chachi wasn't the big hit
that
they hoped it would be.
I agree. I agree with that. Like, yeah, balance. It's all about balance. It has to be. You can't have one without the other.
Well, and just the alchemy of an ensemble. I mean, you look at Friends now, and another show that has held up and is still just as funny as when it was on. You have to have the perfect combination of performers for that to work.
Right.
Next question from Rachel. In what ways did Jack as a character evolve from when he was initially written? And that could be through the first series run or even now.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know that he's changed that much. I think
maybe that's why we love him as he hasn't.
I mean, he's kind of the same since the beginning, a neurotic kind of, you know, all-knowing but knows nothing kind of guy.
Even though he's gotten older, he really hasn't grown up.
Right, yeah. You know, and I say to that, people, I had that question a lot during the press leading up to the relaunch, is I would always say, you know, our friends are our friends for so long because they don't really change. You know, we are kind of, doesn't matter for 20 or 60, you can always see the same person in there. And so I say that about these characters as well. People are like, well, how are they going to evolve? They're older now. Well, I don't know that anybody evolves past high school. You know what I mean?
We all know people who are literally the same persons they were in high school because that was their glory days.
Right.
Next question from Matt is, sort of on that same note, what were your biggest fears in returning to the show? Or reservations, and if you had any.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious, whether the audience would like it or not, and whether we still had it or not, you know. But I think the thing this reboot has that others doesn't is proof of concept. And so when we came back with no expectation or anything doing that election video to get out the vote, we did that, obviously we didn't get paid or anything, or we're looking to get paid. That was our chance to express ourselves in the venue we knew best, and to get our message out that we wanted to as actors, because God knows it
was a crucial time too, September, right?
Yeah, September. September. And so because there was no expectation of that, and people responded so hugely, bigly, that that was kind of an indication, maybe there's something here, and we still have it. And so this is just a reflection of the response of that, is, I think. And then we did another kind of music video that reinforced the reinforcement. So I think it calmed people down about what to expect, because we were giving them little bits before the show. So they're like, okay, I'm settled in now. I've seen what they look like. I've seen that they still have this chemistry. Their writing is still great.
Everyone still looks really hot.
Well, thanks.
Which is important.
You haven't seen me naked, but thank you.
But it was, and we talked about this last week with Megan, it was sort of like this really handy focus group with 8 million people watching YouTube, and execs love numbers. Like, hey, 8 million people tuned in to see this thing.
Right, right. So it took away a little bit of the gamble and the risk for the check writing people.
Right. They are very important. So similarly, question from Christina: what was the most challenging moment so far in returning to Will and Grace? And that could be a specific, maybe this episode we saw today, which was very.
What was the most
Grandpa Jack we saw today?
What was the most challenging one?
Challenging moment or challenging scene that you've had to shoot?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably, so we've only shot 12 so far. So probably that one. Probably that one only because it got rewritten somewhat, and the message was always very clear, but I just didn't want it to be a very special episode of a sitcom, because it's everybody's worst nightmare. So a lot of times you hate to go there, because if you go there, will it look like that? Will it look maudlin? Will it look,
a Full House ending?
Yeah.
Those special talks. Yeah.
But because they're so fucking smart, those writers, that
you had Andrew and Jane Lynch.
Yeah, and they're so great. But I think they know that. They're self-aware, so they wrote it in just the right way.
It hit all the notes without going overboard.
Right.
Yeah. Next question is from Stacey. She wants to say that she's obsessed with your physical comedy. Again, how much is specific in the script in those moments, and how much is just Sean Hayes' genius? The joy is real.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so nice. No, it's very collaborative. They'll obviously write the brilliant words, and we'll together come up with isms or bits or whatever you want to call them over the course of rehearsal, and it's not one side or the other, but very collaborative.
And how much is
and
that?
If something's bad, they'll say, "Don't do that.
Don't do that again."
Something's not funny.
And how much is the live audience figuring into? Are you actually, if the joke doesn't land or a bit doesn't land, do you just say, "Okay, we're gonna try something else"?
Yeah, well, that's also the eyes of Max Mutchnick and David Kohan. On the floor the night you tape the show, if something isn't working, they'll come. It's meaning the response of that's why the audience is there. That's the only reason the audience is there, is to enjoy the show and tell us what's working and what's not working. Right. And if you don't listen to that, that's when you have a bad show. No, I trust it. But there's 300 people telling you it's not funny. No, it's good. It's going to cut together great. But they just said it sucks.
Well, and so many actors who came from multicam, like I talked to Matt LeBlanc about this, where first episode that he shot of episodes, it was so quiet, and he looked around, it was just dead silent.
Of Friends?
No, yeah. So when he did episodes after Friends, he said it was so disconcerting to not have the feedback.
Right.
And now he's back doing multicam. So
yeah. Interesting.
There's something to that.
Did he not know that there's not a lot of audience during single cam?
I don't know what he was told in advance.
I can say he's a friend. I can say him.
He's a sweet guy.
I dropped another name.
You did? Well, I know him too, Sean. You're not the only
whatever.
one.
I'm by the bike racks after the show.
Question from Scotty about our friend Jim Burrows. Actually, he's not my friend. Jimmy Burrows. Can you share a story about a scene that James Burrows directed, and what was his magic touch in that moment? Specific, uniquely him that he brought.
Okay. I think it was Jimmy who came up with the line in the election video. This is just the most recent I can come up with, where he said, I opened the fridge and I go, everything in there looks 10 years old. That was Jimmy, because it had been 10 years since we were on the show. But a lot of the, physical, a lot of the physical stuff he'll come up with. He said to me, I don't know if you remember the first episode we did this season, but in it, I'm looking up on the computer with Will hovering over my shoulder, who's in love with this, who's, in lust with this congressman. And I say, and looking up his schedule, and going to his Facebook page, and doing something. And there was 4 of them, and he goes, honey, do it the 4th time. I go, Jimmy, comedy's in 3s. He goes, not anymore. He goes, comedy's in 4s. So I did it 4 times. I'm like, and 4 times.
When did the 4 thing happen? Was that a recent shift in the business that we should know about?
I know, right? I didn't get the memo, no.
So I've been loving your use of social media in the new version of the show, and you and Megan doing little videos behind the scenes and stuff. How has that impacted just your working relationship with everyone? And is it scary how much people are paying attention to like literally everything you're doing during the day?
No, I mean, I think it doesn't. Everybody can be famous now, so fame isn't a thing anymore.
Right.
You can be famous on YouTube. You can be 12 years old. You can be 80 years old. Doesn't matter. So fame isn't what it used to be. Fame is for everybody if you want it. Right. I don't know, on some level.
Success and fame are not the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not. I don't live in fear or anything. You can know everything about me or nothing about me. It's like I just have a job to do, and hopefully people enjoy it. That's where I stay.
And everyone in this room would always love to ask people up here, do you have any advice
yes.
for actors, for anyone wanting to pursue any element of what we've talked about?
Did you see the movie Get Out?
Of course, yes.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Get Out. No.
It is a great allegory for Hollywood, really.
Yeah, right. It really
Get out
is.
while you can.
I love that movie. By the way, I'm going to answer the advice thing first, but I would be remiss in not mentioning Bob Greenblatt, of course, the president of NBC, whose idea this all was. So without him, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about this right now. So
thank you, Bob.
Thank you to Bob. And advice. So I always say, I came up with this thing a while ago. It's nothing new or genius. It's what do you want and what are you waiting for? So I would tell other friends who are going through some stuff, I'm like, you have to be specific with what exactly is it what you want, not only in this business, but in life. And then once you have that list, every day to push yourself, you put on a Post-it, what are you waiting for? Just to at least do one thing towards one of those goals. So, and it's really kind of fun. You can do it in the privacy of your own home and just write down, what do you want? Nobody has to read the list. You could just be like, I want to be famous. I want to be just a working actor, nothing else. I want to work out more. I want to eat better. I want to treat my family better, or whatever it is. I want to read more books. You do that, and then you say, what are you waiting for? What the hell are you waiting for? So it forces you to pick up whatever it is you need to do. So that also be self-aware. So I wasn't self-aware enough with myself at a younger age to know my place in the business. If you're skinny or fat or tall or short or gay or straight or whatever it is, I'm never going to play like this brooding cop on the beat. Do you know what I mean? Right, so
not to say you can't, because you could do a great job.
Sure, well, God bless you. Let's shoot it after this. So, but I think that so to know who you are and what you have to offer in the marketplace the earlier on is going to be a huge benefit to you. I made the mistake at such a young age, being like, I can pretty much play anything. I'm pretty awesome, and I'm like, no, I can't play. There's specific roles that are just for me, and other roles that I will never be able to do because I don't hold that capacity inside of my body. So that is a good piece of advice.
When you were auditioning early on for all those commercials, because you did play a lot of like average Joe, regular guy characters. I mean, did they look at you as like an everyman guy?
Yeah, I was on the cover of USA Today when I had a bunch of string of commercials as the average guy, as the average straight guy in America. And I'm like, yeah. And then you turn the page 20 years later. No, but yeah, that's what I thought I was going to be. But, So
in a sense,
that a gay guy can't play straight roles unless there's certain straight roles that you are, that will be applicable to you. But
a lot of actors get pigeonholed early on, and you sort of had the reverse. When you were sort of told you could play a lot of parts, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was, I mean, that's just an exhausting topic. I mean, you as long as you are right and fit for the role, you'll get it. Right. That's all, right? It's very simple. And the other thing was, which I already touched on, was I can't stress enough to you, if you're so interested, to force yourself to learn about the things you don't want to learn about, like writing. If you're an actor who doesn't know how to write and you're not interested, I would force yourself. I mean, if you really want to act and be a better actor, force yourself to learn all aspects of the whole business. It will only make you a more informed actor, a better actor, a more informed person, to be aware of all the departments that make up this thing you're in, to be conscious of them and conscientious to them, and kind all around. And by the way, that's the other thing, just be nice. Be nice and work hard. Be nice because, yeah, right?
We need that right now in a big way.
Totally, because we all know, we all work with people who aren't, or have worked with people who aren't, and we all work with people who are, and you're drawn to the people who are kind. So just be a person you want to be drawn to and to.
Just be kind. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you, guys. This was so fun.
You.
I wish we had more time. Thank you.